So for assignment 1-1, that personal assessment recording, we're going to be discussing kind of how my upbringing and my background has influenced the way that I interpret the Bible. And in some ways, what themes and what books that I really focus on as I read. I had a bit of a turbulent life growing up. My mom and dad were never married, so I didn't grow up with that kind of family unit that most people, or that a lot of people enjoy and kind of have. But my dad did get married to my stepmom when I was 2 years old. So I had that significant mother figure throughout my life. But I did hold some resentment. So that plays a factor in the way that I sometimes read the Bible and some of the things that I look for, some of the symbols and some of the themes. So basically, the first theme that I kind of focus on, I find, and I've identified this as I read the Bible, is judgment and hypocrisy in the church. I see that a lot, and that's kind of what initially kind of put me away from the church. I grew up in a kind of semi-Christian home, as you guys probably already know if you've watched my video. So my mom likes to go to church, and she enjoys, and she's a believer, but she does judge people pretty frequently, and me included. And so that kind of pushed me away from the church a little bit and kind of set me on a little bit of a path that I rebelled against God, almost solely because of the way that my mom judged both me and other people. So I found that as I read the Bible, I look for themes and I look for books and I look for things that specifically say not to judge. And one of the scriptures that I've found and that I actually really enjoy, if you've checked out my Facebook page, you'll see it at the top, is Romans 2:1, and that says, "You therefore have no excuse, you who pass judgment on someone else. For at whatever point you judge another, you are condemning yourself, because you who pass judgment do these very same things." And that basically just says that we're in no place to take what we believe and judge other people based off of that. And that's a thing that hits home for me. As you guys can see, I have some tattoos, and I lived away from God for a while, and I was judged pretty heavily by those that were closest to me that claimed to believe in God, and I felt as though that should be more of an attitude of acceptance. But that definitely has shaped and completely influenced the way that I read the Bible. I look for those themes of judgment, and I look for those hypocrisy themes of, we need to focus on ourselves as a church in the way that we portray our kindness, and not in a judgmental manner. We can't focus on the way that people look, the way that people act, because we have to exude Christ's love. That's the way that we're going to win people over to His kingdom. And the second theme that I found, which directly ties to a book, is forgiveness and redemption. As I told you guys, my parents were never married, my biological parents, and my mom fell out of my life for a while, and I just re-met her back when I was 19, so like 6 years ago I was able to start building a relationship with her. But for a while I harbored a lot of resentment towards her, and I thought that, had that feeling of abandonment, and I thought that she didn't want me. And when I did re-meet her, I found out that I had a brother, and that really kind of hurt me. So it was like all of these things that kind of built up in me as a believer, and then fell away from the church, and I had those feelings where I wasn't able to actually let go of the resentment that I had for her. And Ephesians is one of my favorite books, and Paul is definitely my favorite writer. And in Ephesians chapter 1, verse 7, he says, "In Him we have redemption through His blood, the forgiveness of our trespasses, according to the riches of His grace." And that really, rings home. I had a pastor one time tell me, who are we to hold grudges? Who are we to not forgive people when the creator of the universe forgave us our sins? Are we elevating ourselves above God that we can't forgive people? So those are the two themes and the two books that I really focus on when I'm reading the Bible. Both judgment and hypocrisy, and forgiveness and redemption in Ephesians and Romans are my two favorite books. Paul is absolutely my favorite author. But it definitely has shaped the way that I think. My upbringing in those two ways, I find those verses and I find those themes in the Bible, and I focus on them because I connect personally with them.